Hi there, this is the Module 3 video. So in Module 3, what we're going to start looking at is how to describe data. And most likely the things that we do in this module, you've probably seen a lot of them before, but never really thought of them in the context that we're going to think of them. So usually what happens is once we go out and we look at a sample, we collect data. And that data is usually summarized maybe in some kind of spreadsheet like an Excel or something like that. And you'll see some examples of data sets in today's notes. Usually looking at just the raw data or a data set and describing what's happening in the data is very difficult. So what we need are ways to summarize the data. And so we're going to start out by looking at categorical data. And categorical data, what it is that's when you can place your data set, or I should say you could take the variable and place it into different categories. That's why it's called categorical variable. So you might ask people what's their favorite color. Color, we could say red, blue, or yellow were the only options. So we can easily place those into categories. And so what we're going to look at today are ways to, one, numerically summarize that, and we'll do that with proportions, or to summarize that with graphs. The important part about the summary of data is thinking about why we summarize the data. The reason we do that, you can imagine if I had responses from 1,000 people, what their favorite colors were, just looking at those 1,000 responses, it would be very difficult to figure out, okay, which one's the most common one? Do more people prefer yellow to blue and so forth? But if I plot that data in a plot or some type of chart, I can see that very, very quickly. Or I could calculate a numeric summary such as a proportion, and if I find that 75% of those responded, their favorite color is red, that tells me very quickly the most common color that people selected was red. And so the goal for today as you go through these summaries is, you need to focus on the mechanics, how do you create these plots, how do you calculate the proportions, but just as importantly, once that data is summarized, what does that tell you? Does it allow you to quickly see, hey, this was the most common response? Or as you look at quantitative, which is going to be at the very end of the notes, maybe where's the center of the data set? What's the shape of it? Think of it in terms of you're taking something and summarizing it so that you can say something useful and meaningful. And we're going to work more on this idea in Module 4 as well. We're going to continue summarizing data. And so again, don't only focus on the mechanics of how to create the plots, but really what are these plots telling you about what's going on in the data set. Now, as always, if you have any questions, please use that general discussion board. Post any questions you have in there. It immediately sends me an email, so that way I can get back quickly in touch with you to help you out. And then if you have any concerns about grades or anything like that, please feel free to send me an email, and I will see you tomorrow.